So I am a member of the Primary Reference Working Group, and as a member of this group, my job, my role was to bring together a group of Latin American community members to host a number of community consultations with them to see what they thought and how they felt about the descriptors that the Canadian Health Information CIHI put out for Canada to be able to collect race-based data to improve the health outcomes and the health access to everybody, because I think the government, not only the federal government but also the provincial governments, have realized through a lot of advocacy from diverse groups as well that there is a health inequality. And so the idea to collect this race-based data is to improve access to healthcare and also access to health outcomes. And so my job was to bring together a group of Latin American members. So I brought 6 of them, and we together became the Latin American Advisory Group, and we organized and delivered 6 consultations where we had a survey that help us, that guide our discussion to see if the community here in Nova Scotia felt reflected in those under those stratifiers. So, for instance, one of the stratifiers was specifically for people that come from the Latin American and the Caribbean, and so, based on the discussions, most people did not feel identified with those stratifiers because the Latin American community is very diverse. So there is people with origins from Africa, the indigenous people that are indigenous to Latin America, but there is also people that have Spanish ancestry, people that have Italian ancestry, people that have ancestry from Germany, from Jewish ancestry, Italian ancestry. So there is a diverse group of people that are migrating to Nova Scotia that come from very various backgrounds, although they come from what we understand as Latin America and the Caribbean. So most of them felt that they were not represented on those stratifiers, but also that there was a conflict in terms of how race was defined, right? For some groups and for not others. So race and ethnicity and culture and language were sort of all mixed in together. And so they felt that some of them could identify as Hispanics, others not. Others felt that they had indigenous roots, and they spoke, their mother language was an indigenous language, not Spanish, but others speak Portuguese. So people from Brazil speak Portuguese. People from the Guyana, they speak French Guyana, and so we are a multilingual, right? But also multicultural. So there is indigenous cultures as well as the mix of Spanish and more Latin American cultures. So it's interesting because some of them felt that they learned what it meant to be Latin American when they came here, because they didn't really saw themselves as Latin American when they were in some of the regions. And so we were given the opportunity to provide the frame of reference for that stratifier, which included Latin America as sort of the first reference, and then have sub-references such as indigenous African descent, Italian descent, and more broader terms, so that people, because there were also people that have Asian roots, so they wanted to make sure that all those were also reflected as other identifiers for other communities were also reflected. Yes, so I think peer-to-peer learning, it allows the development of horizontal relationship, right? A horizontal way of learning. It tells that collaboration is the most important thing, right? And that there is nothing wrong, or I'm not lacking if I don't know something, but I can learn from others. I have something of value to bring. My opinions matter, so the opinions of my peers matter, and I can learn from them, and we can learn from each other, and create an environment of trust and mutuality, where we both or can grow as a team, so that my colleagues know when to come to me if they have a question about a particular subject. So in other words, recognizing that we all can contribute based on the knowledge that we have, on the background that we have acquired, right? And that we can create this environment where the hierarchy doesn't intimidate anybody, because the knowledge that we bring, the knowledge that we can share with one another, is what makes us a team, right? So we survive not depending on others, but we survive because we all matter, mm-hmm. and we all contribute, and we all enrich one another, right? Well, I think I would encourage them to participate. I would encourage them to take on the opportunity to learn from colleagues that may be working in different areas, but by learning what others are doing, that's how we build a welcoming community, right? So the whole process of where we are now, if we want to look at a national level, but a provincial level, it's the idea of creating welcoming communities. And so from my perspective, because I work with immigration, so I think of creating welcoming communities from the perspective of embracing all cultures, embracing all the diversity that comes with bringing people from all over the world into one community. And so I think I take that to an environment like this, an opportunity like this, that we have so much to learn from one another, to make sure that the public service employees create that welcoming community for the communities that they are serving, right? Because when we think about public service employees, we often disconnect them from the community. But in my perspective, building a welcoming community is to bring them back to the position where they are. They are there in these positions of power, because they are positions of power, where they can connect with the community and oversee the well-being of the community. And that's how we create welcoming communities, where everybody, regardless of the sector where you are, embrace that notion of a welcoming community where everybody else feels valued and connected.